Control and J, Command J if you're on Mac, or you could have right clicked on the background layer and just clicked duplicate layer, right? Then the next thing I'm going to do is right click on the duplicated layer and just go ahead and convert it to a smart object, right? You can even go ahead and turn off the background one that you have, and I'll show you in a little bit why we converted it to a smart object. Now, to edit our photo, as I mentioned, that's what we're going to be doing today. You want to go ahead and hit Control Shift and A on your keyboard, Command Shift A if you're on Mac, and you'll notice that you'll get a window here that says Camera Raw Filter, and this is the window that we're going to be making all our edits in, right? And you'll notice that you have some basic controls here. You have curve, detail, color mixer, color grading, etc., etc. You have a host of controls, right? And we're going to be working in the basic tab today, and the first thing I want to show you is the temperature slider. If I were to slide this all the way over to the left, the photo will be getting cooler, going more to the blue side on the white balance scale, right? If I go to the opposite direction, it's going to get more yellow, warmer, right? But that's not what I want. I just want to go to about -10, somewhere there, right? And for the tint, I want to go ahead and go a little bit over to the positive side. In the purples, about +4. That's fine. Your photo may be different. You can tweak it however you want, right? Then for the exposure, I'm just going to bump it up a little bit, right? Then I'm just going to up the shadows as well. Then I'm going to bring the contrast up a bit, right? About 40s, in the 40s is fine. Highlights, I'm just going to take a little bit off the highlights. Let me show you what it does here. See that? That's all the highlights off.
家里一定要备一些补品，关键的时候能起到很大的作用。这款人参全部都是从长白山的原生态。
Lights off, back to 0. All the highlights off, and I just want a little bit off, right? Maybe lift the shadows some more. About there, that's fine. And then what I want to show you next is if you were to add some blacks in here, see that, all the way over to the negative side, see that? But that's too extreme, that's not what we want. If you were to go the opposite direction and take off all the blacks, you'll see what's happening there, right? But I don't want all of that. Maybe let's do a little bit. Let's do like -15 or 17, that's fine. I want to jump down to, I want to close the basic tab, then I want to jump down to color mixer, right? This is where you can get really creative with your colors. So you have reds, oranges, all the colors that you can adjust here in Photoshop, right? But what you have to do is identify the colors that are present in your photo. So in my photo, I realized that I have some purples or magentas, maybe even some reds here in this jacket, and well, not jacket, this sweater, and then the background is obviously blue, right? Now, if I were to go to the saturation slider, we're under the saturation tab, you have the hue tab and luminance, right? So I'm working under the saturation tab. If I were to find the blue and bring it all the way down to -100, it will reduce all the blue in my image, right? And make the background gray. But that's not what I want. I want to actually bring back the blues to 0 and then go to the positive side and make the blue brighter, right? If I even tried the aquas to see if there's any aqua present, let me go to negative. There seems to be a little bit of aqua present. Let me bump it up. See that? There seems to be a little bit of aqua present. And then obviously I can adjust the magentas or the purples because we have that in the sweater. If I were to bring them all the way down to negative along with the red, you can see that it's all gone, right? Let me just bring them back to 0. Let's pump the red a little bit because the red seems to be giving us the better results. But you have to know that while you're increasing the red, her lip is also going to become more red, right? See that? So you have to be careful if you don't want to overdo it. And then because the red is predominant, we can go ahead and just bump up the magentas as well. See that? Not much purple there, just a little bit, so we'll just leave it as is, right? Let's touch the reds a little bit more because we can, right? Let's do the blues a little bit more as well. What do you guys think? I think this looks much, much better. And if I were to zoom in, wait, let me just go back to basic, add some more contrast, right? And then I can go down to detail and sharpen the image. So if you have an image that's not, I wouldn't say like if it's completely blurred out, this won't save you, right? But if you want to just make it a little bit more tact sharp, you can bump the sharpening just a little bit. Let's do about 13. 13 is fine, right? No. You can go ahead and exit this menu by clicking OK out of the camera raw filter, right? And click OK. and it's going to work, and there's our result. And remember earlier I told you that I'm going to show you why we converted this image to a smart object, the duplicated layer that we created. If you look over here in your camera, in your layers, you'll notice that you see something underneath your layer 1 that says smart filters, and under that you see camera raw filter, which is obviously what we just worked with, right? Now if you were to turn this off, before I do that, pay attention to the image and look what happens when I turn it off, right? So I'm turning it off. That's the before, and if I turn it back on, we'll see what we have after we made all our adjustments. This is our after, right? Before and then after. And if I were to turn on the layer beneath it, which is our original layer, it will be the same thing, right? Before, after. Now, if I did not convert this duplicated layer to a smart object, I would not be able to turn off my camera raw filter like I'm able to right here. It will just have been burnt into the image, and I could not have made any adjustments. And that's what you call destructive editing versus non-destructive editing. And you want to always make sure that you're editing your graphics or your photos in a non-destructive method within Photoshop. That way you can always go back and make changes, because what's the point of working in Photoshop if not to save your project so you can go back and make adjustments if you want, right? Next, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Control and S to save my project, and I'm just going to name this LSPV 101 Photoshop photo editing. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and hit save and then click OK, and now I have my edit so far to this photo saved, right? This photo looks much better for me, and I can use it in like a social media graphic if I want to, versus where we're coming from when we just imported it. So this is the after, before, right? And I'm really liking the after. Control and S to save it again. And because we have the camera raw filter here applied to our smart object layer, I can double click it, right? And then the camera raw filter will open again for me, right? See that? And I have all my edits still here. I can add some curves, right? I can add a little bit of curves. I can go back and add some more contrast. If I wanted to lift up some of the shadows out of her face, because if I think her face is too like dark, right?
Struggling to find hot-selling products for your business? Meet Axio, Alibaba.com's AI.
Right? How do I move this? Alright, there I go with my hand tool by pressing H. Now, if I wanted to move some shadows out of her face because her face looks a little bit underexposed to me, I can just go ahead and come over here to my adjustment brush, right? On the right-hand side, or masking, right? And then I can go down to brush for my adjustment brushes, and then what I want to do is find my light tab here, and I want to lift some shadows out of her face. So let me bump this up, and then let me just scrub away some shadows, and then let's see the results that we got, right? Oops. So that's where we are now. Before, after. Before, after. That's looking much better to me. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And I'm just going to go ahead and click OK, and it will be saved. See that? Now I can just hit Control and S to save all that I just did, and then I can go to File and then save a copy, and then I can save this as a JPEG that I can use on social media, or I can bring it into a graphic that I'm designing for my social media, right? So earlier I said that Envato Elements was the sponsor of this video, right? And as a photographer, as a graphic designer, Envato Elements is your best friend. It is the coolest and most content-rich stock website where you can get stock photos, stock videos,